Right. We'll see how this one goes after last week's episode. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the racing show about nothing. Not 100% sure where this is going to go and how it's going to go. But
we're never 100% sure where anything's going to go. What are you talking about?
No, Troy Harley joins me. This is we've tried a few different concepts of this way, but with COVID-19, it's been very, very tricky to do these things through the Zoom meetings and the like. So tried something last week. Had an audio issue. This week we don't care. We're going to go with it. So hopefully people enjoyed it. We did, unfortunately, had a major function error that we fixed up at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I think, last Thursday night, mate.
It was pretty late night. Typical of having a late night, but generally not talking to you. But we always got to try things, and whenever you try things, something goes wrong, and if something's not going wrong, you're not trying enough.
Exactly. Hence the reason we're waiting on our first guest who's stuck in traffic behind a very big truck. He said, I'm not sure if he's tuned in or not. What'd you say?
Truth be known, he's about 5 weeks behind. He hasn't changed his clock for daylight saving, you don't think?
No. Harvey McKinnon will get this, but the Caterpillars has come home to roost, has given him a hard time. So we can give him as much cheek as he likes right at the minute because no one's going to be able to see. But that's Toby McKinnon. He's going to join us. We've got Ash Baker that's going to join us from the Meadows. Yep. They've got a big night of racing coming up.
Yeah, so they have. They kicked off the Metropolitan Carnival of Racing for the Spring Carnival of Racing between themselves and Sandown. They kicked it off on Monday night with the running of the Group 1 Hume Cup on Melbourne Cup Eve and also the Silver Bullet. And then this Saturday night, the second year that the Top Gun and the Top Gun Stars has been held on Stakes Night, not Cox Plate Night. And unfortunately, Monday night was as good a weather as they could possibly imagine. It's normally packed to the rafters. You can imagine how good it would have been. So it'd be interesting to get Ash's reaction and just how you stay committed and focused, I guess, to put these events on purely for the racing perspective and not the off-track stuff. Everywhere's
been the same. Bendigo Gallop Cup. I mean, they were cruel, weren't they? I mean, you couldn't have got a lovelier day here in Central Victoria.
Oh, it's probably the first time in 10 years it hasn't rained for the Cup. It's it just happens. We've all had it. I mean, the Bendigo Growers have had the same thing. But good thing is that everyone still seems to be tuning in and still paying attention to racing in all three codes. And it's good.
The Oaks was one. I actually didn't see. Damien Oliver. I did see it. I watched it. Made sure I watched it. I think it was his 6th Oaks. So he's getting into very, very elite class there now.
As he wasn't already there, I suppose.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
Very interesting to see that the 3 staying races and the horses, and you'd appreciate this with your horse preparation, but the 3 staying races over the carnival all been won by what I would suggest the best prepared horses, not necessarily the best horses in the race. Some of the shorter price contenders had some interesting preparations, but when you're talking about staying races in any of the 3 codes, it's all about preparation.
I've got Daniel Hibbard on later on. We've got Ashley's already joined us. Ashley might be scared that he's the person we're waiting on, but sorry, Ash, you're not the one. We will give you another message in a minute, or you can wait there in the waiting room. But you may have backed the winner of the Melbourne Cup. I might have alluded to a bit later on. I've got Daniel Hibbard on at the end of the show, and I may have alluded you may have been a little bit happy with the result.
Yeah. $31 the Cup winner. I was on first, second and fourth, and I took those in the Maldives as well and just left out Prince of Arran, unfortunately. But do know a couple of blokes. I've got a couple of mates of mine that got the trifecta in first 4. But yeah, it was nice to cheer home the winner at $31. And I think you were sitting about 5 metres away from me. I kept it pretty quiet at the last furlong.
I've already pre-recorded the interview with, I keep looking at the Zoom computer, you've got to look at those ones, with Daniel Hibbard. And I said, because he's doing his debut race calling. The reason we couldn't get Daniel on live tonight is he's actually calling the trials tonight, and then he's got his first race meeting tomorrow, and I'd say he's a touch on edge, but he's worried about going the early crow. He might have went the early crow a couple of times, so he's a little bit worried about that. And I told him about your exploits Melbourne Cup Day. I was like, man,
he's got to stay quiet.
Yeah, cool. And Luke, there was only 3 of us in there, and you didn't wait till the bride left. She was there. She knew you backed it.
She was already on. Yeah, she knew. You can't hide anything from her. To her account.
Well, but she sat there the same. She was just as quiet.
Yeah. You got to be patient. It's a 2-mile race.
How's everything going at the Greyhound Club, at Bendigo Greyhound Club?
Yeah, normally very good, but yes, that was a bit interesting. Right. We had the whole region had a bit of a blackout in selective areas, about 1,500 sites, and we just happened to be one of them for a couple of hours. So unfortunately, there was the blackout just after race number 3, total power outage in the whole area, and an hour and a quarter later, when power core still talking about 6:30 being the comeback on time, about an hour and 20 minutes or so between the races. So we between us and the stewards came to an agreement that the best thing for both animal welfare and for the participants without knowing the time was to go home. And there was probably another hour after that the power came on, so the right decision was made. But there's a lot of talk about whether you should have backup power or the like. But that's I've been there 10 years in February. It's the first time we've lost power at a race meeting. It hasn't been a storm. So it's unfortunate that happens, but it does happen. And thankfully for us, we race again tomorrow. We race again Saturday morning, so it's not like we're missing out on too much action. But hopefully everyone understood the situation yesterday.
When do you have backup generators at Trot and Track? Like, is it?
No, our generators at the two tracks are actually, for those who are wondering what happened yesterday, are actually for the lights to take them off the main grid to save a maximum demand tariff. So those two generators are actually an investment to save the combined clubs probably 80 or 90,000 a year in the privilege of having such a big substation. So the next step, if you have to do those, is probably another generator or two the same size. So the lights keep going if the power goes out, but nothing else.
I've just left you on your own. You've got the screen to yourself because you're going to have to do both jobs while I just get Mr. McKinnon to come into our Zoom meeting. That actually explains a lot, because I was thinking that later on. I thought, why doesn't that happen that way?
Yes, that's why. So just the generators, mate. They run the lights to be able to split the power system that we've got on track there, and as I said, it saves us about 80 or 90,000 a year between us. So it's certainly a good investment. But just one of those things that unfortunately wrong day that the power decided to go out for no particular reason. The decision was made to send everyone home. As I said, we race again tomorrow, and we race again bright and early on Saturday morning. Actually, quite unusual to be racing Derby morning and then Stakes morning 2 weeks in a row. But those Saturday morning meetings are proving very, very popular and very successful, and we generally finish in time to kick off a switch over to the main Flemington races. So I'm sure we'll be doing that as well.
Just keep going for one more minute, mate. I just getting there, but just got to keep there.
Yeah, looks like Toby's finally clocked in. He's adjusted his clock. I'm not sure he realises that daylight saving did start 5 weeks ago, but he's on board now. That's good.
He can hear you. We can't. We actually cannot hear him, which is not a bad thing, I must say.
Well, he's been nice and busy too, as everyone has. Of course, yourself yesterday at Shepparton, mate, with the sales, the Breeze Up sales.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a little bit of fun, that was too. We might talk about that a bit later on in the night if we get 5 minutes. But just trying to find this last bloody logo. Do you reckon I can find the bloody? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I know what we'll do. We'll do this. You can actually introduce our guest. No, I got rid of the wrong bloody logo again. What's his name? Toby. That's his name, isn't it? I can't even find his name. There he is there. We'll get rid of that. Flick him over now. Toby is... Oh, we've got to stop that too. How good am I going? Now he's there.
He's there.
So, Toby, you can actually now join into the show, mate. We should be able to hear you, and you should be able to contribute.
Welcome, Toby.
Surely, Paul, my name and logo were on top of the list, mate.
It was. As I said, I'm just having a few technical issues right at the minute. Just behave yourself, and I will get it. I will get it for you. I've just got to find the bloody thing now. It's all good. So,
Toby, we were talking earlier, mate, about some of these big race meetings have been run with no one there. How was Redwood Day with no one to be there? It's one of the country events of the year.
I wasn't fortunate enough to go to Redwood Day, but they're basically just like a midweek meeting anyway, if that makes sense. Like you would get it in the greyhounds too. I'd expect that you just have meetings where there's only the participants that go on a Wednesday afternoon somewhere. So it sort of feels like all the meetings are just a midweek Wednesday afternoon in a sense, and then all of a sudden the Redwood's running.
Yes, I mean Redwood and Charlton Cup, so both of those are normally pretty decent days, and we've had certainly a few big meetings now. Our guest coming up later on, Ash Baker from the Meadows. He normally on Melbourne Cup, it's packed to the rafters there with kids and families, and one good thing I suppose is that while we haven't had anyone there, the quality of racing's probably been as good as it's been in a long time in particularly the greyhounds and the harness racing.
Yeah, and there's a real. It's a strange vibe amongst the participants, a real appreciation to still be racing and still be doing things. They see coffee shop owners, etc., that are struggling, and they know how hard that the head bodies, the peak bodies of both sports, or both, greyhounds and harness and gallops, have done to keep racing going. And there's a real strange, happy vibe amongst the contestants from that.
There is. You're right. Sorry, I'm back. I've got things actually all. How have you spent then? Where did you go? Terang? Whereabouts were you then this week? We've been. I know where you've been today. You're Happy Hunting Ground, but where have you been prior to that, mate?
I was at Terang on Monday night, and then, in the words of Lachlan McIntosh, had the short backup and got up at 5 o'clock Tuesday and headed off to Charlton for a nice sunny afternoon at Charlton, and then Yarra Valley today, and I'm off to a place, Paul, called Bendigo tomorrow night. So I've been getting around.
Absolute ripping card there tomorrow night at Bendigo, heats of the Breeders' Crowns, and the rest. Ballarat, Toby, they had a ripping meeting the other night as well. It was a beautiful meeting they had going on there as well. Again, back to these no crowds, but sitting at home, they must be absolutely loving it. The participants watching it on Trots Vision and the likes. Tobes and me, Trots Vision, we only had the one meeting, didn't we, Tobes? We didn't get to have another one, unfortunately.
Yeah, like you only have to go to the Olympics once to win a gold medal, Paul.
You're saying your next gig's 4 years away?
I've got a question for you, Paul. Yeah, next gig's 4 years away. That's about how often you want to work with a bloke like him, Troy, but you seem to do it regularly.
I'm a bit punch drunk.
Go on, Tobes.
I've got a question for you, Paul, when you can concentrate.
Oh, I'm concentrating. I just got buttons.
Probably two. The first question for the listeners at home or the viewers is to guess what year the decor is in my kitchen.
We can get the decade, not the year.
I'm glad you come up with a sensible one, Tobes, first up.
Actually, the fact it's brown's throwing me out. If it was an orange or a yellow, I'd know what it was.
Right. Second one's a serious one. Trainer and driver, there's only one that's in the top 10 Metropolitan trainers and Metropolitan drivers list in harness racing. There's only one person there's a top 10 in the trainers and top 10 in the drivers. There's only one. You think about our trainers, our leading trainers. Emma Stewart doesn't drive.
Amanda Turnbull.
Doesn't drive.
Amanda Turnbull.
Incorrect.
Top 10 trainers and top 10 drivers.
Metro.
In Metro only, or?
There's only one person. In Metro only, yeah.
Don't know. You got to give me the answer. This is bad TV. You know that, don't you?
I'll leave you with it.
You can't do that.
I'll leave you with it.
You can't do that. Come on, who is it? We'll get someone coming in.
Well, just think of Lucinda Mack and her.
Chris Finozio.
Lucinda Mack knows the back of his head very well.
Chris Finozio.
Right. Fair effort.
That's a great effort. That's one for the locals. We found Chris. A lot of other people claim him now, but we found him, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very. We actually had him before the races down when it was back.
Yeah, a couple of years
down.
ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Exchange.
And not long after he'd left Matty Cravens.
I think, Paul, the point of it is I'm trying to make it in a strange way, which is my sort of style, is how hard it is now for our leading participants to be a top trainer or a top driver. They don't really have the time to put into being both, if that makes sense.
Yep.
You really need that man at home or woman at home that is the dead set trainer to allow you to get out and about and get around the state driving horses. So it's interesting how if you went back to the 90s, B. Gaff, Teddy Damois, Vinnie Knight, they're all
doing
the
it.
Top trainer and drivers, I think, or Andy Peace,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's where that one girl I did say, Amanda Turnbull, she's doing a great job right at the minute because she was at Ballarat last night. I don't think she went to Yarra Glen today, but she's got a great team of horses and she's got a very interesting one racing tomorrow night called Beautiful Woman, which will be interesting to see how it goes. You don't generally get confident about one.
The first Saturday morning winner?
Yeah, you don't get confident too often about one that's left Emma Stewart's, but the job she's done with Speak No Evil and the drive she put in the other night, she's doing great gun. So you could get very excited about it.
That situation with the trainers and drivers, is that because of the amount of racing we've got now or the size of the stables they need to be successful or a bit of both?
Both, I think. I don't know what you think, Tobes, but I'd say both.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely both. To be successful, you need so many horses And then that sort of takes 3/4 of the day to train them all, if that makes sense. And then there's no day left to be out there driving and stuff, So our top drivers, like a Chris Alford, he only has a small team at home. Mick Bellman only has a small team at home. Greg Sugars, his father, Ross, helps him out significantly, and his sister Kylie. So he's sort of got that real strong team at home as well that train a few horses, but not a hell of a lot,
Yep, absolutely. Are you going to come up with your other little thing, mate, before I cross to your interview in a second, or are you going to sit on that one?
No, happy to go. My country cups idea, Paul.
Toby's got he's prepared to be a little bit controversial, so I'm just it's a random one. He's run it past me, so I'm not 100% sure, but he's run it past me, that's for sure.
So first of all, you need some sort of a logo of a brain with hair coming out of it. So when I come
give me a break.
Brain idea,
I'm lucky I've even got you on.
And what I'm thinking for the country cups, it's as we know, it's a funny season. We can't get participants to the track, and a club like Bendigo, their cup's worth $60,000, and the club puts, say, $30,000 of stake money into that, and then the return to the club that effectively funds that additional $30,000 stake money they get through gate admissions and food and beverage sales. Well, of course, unless there's a sudden change in the COVID environment, which we don't expect, the clubs aren't going to get that money back, as in from food and beverage sales and admissions. So I'd imagine a lot of clubs won't be able to afford to run a cup at about 60,000, say, like a Bendigo. So my idea, Paul, is over a 10-week period, we have 20 cups, so 2 a weekend, and we split them into 2 tiers. Tier 1, and they race for $30,000. And you use an example of, say, Leroy O'Brien, he would have I'm Sir Blake in Tier 1. In Tier 2, they run for $20,000, and Leroy O'Brien would have a horse called Perspective in Tier 2. So over 10 weeks, they've got this option. You get a series going week after week where horses can say, I'm going to run in Tier 1. And once they enter the Tier 1, they're in Tier 1, and they can run over 10 weeks for $30,000. This is Pacers and Trotters. The Tier 2 Cups, over 10 weeks, they run for $20,000, which is $200,000 and $300,000 in Tier 1. Tier 2, you just might have to cap it, say, at ratings 90 or under or something, just to make sure there's not a cheeky horse like a Mr. Wickham goes in Tier 2 and he's 120 and he just dominates. And we just run it over 20 weeks, and it'd be $1 million worth of prize money over 10 weeks at 20 tracks, with 30 and 20 for Tier 1 and Tier 2 Pacers and Trotters.
It's a different idea, I must say. I might have to put me and Hales back onto the picture, but it is a different idea. I'm not sold on it, but it will get people thinking. Anyway, we'll know how many people watch the show, Tobes, as to whether they get involved and like or dislike your idea. A lot of people don't like change. The issue would be some of the bigger cups are going to have a major stake cut, but across the board, the participants will be doing better.
Yeah, but as I explained earlier, Paul, how can a club like Bendigo put an extra $30,000 cash into their cup when they're not going to get that revenue back through gate sales and food and beverage? So clubs just won't have the money to do it. It's just not an environment where they can afford to do it. So this is an option. And I've floated this with a number of participants across the state, and I did float it with one person who'd retired his horse, a free-for-all horse. And he said, Jesus, if that came in, I'd probably have to put him back into work just to give him a crack at that series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different way of thinking at it. That's one thing Toby does do. He does think a little bit differently from time to time, I must say.
So you talk about the clubs not being able to afford it. Have they had discussions with HRV about a change in funding for, obviously, if they're like the other two codes, been a significant increase in off-course wagering, particularly through corporate activity? Are those clubs being rewarded for being innovative and providing, whether it be this type of show on the night or still promoting those quality cards? Are they being rewarded for that as a part of a loss of the income on track? I know the government put in some money, so.
I'm out because I'm off committees altogether, so I'm not 100% across any of that, and I'm not sure whether you would be either, Tobes. But you'd think there'd be a lot of discussions about the off-course turnover because it is so big. Tobes, you got any thoughts?
Well, the off-course turnover is what funds the whole country club network. So And it's like anything, it's like trying to divide your assets with your ex-wife. The country clubs say they want more, and HRV say we can't afford to give you any more. So quite a pertinent one, Paul. But that sort of relationship between clubs and HRV will happen forever.
Incredibly random, Toby McKinnon. Tobes,
we might.
I was about to say, I got to let you go because you could go on for a long, long time. But Charlton, they're doing great things there at the club. You talk about clubs being thrown curveballs 2020, and just prior, they were the first clubs shut down, and they elected to shut down with the COVID scare and what was going on and all the rest. They got their first meeting, their second meeting back, wasn't it? It was Cup Day, and they're doing some great things behind the scenes, and they've got some people coming to the club to train horses and the likes, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a wonderful club with a great structure, Paul. Like Joe Thompson, and then he's got Andrew Gorman and Hayley Stillsbury and Boyley's there as well, and Doug Gretrix. There's this beautiful structure like a pyramid there, and the club is just kicking goal after goal after goal. There's a little bit more work that's going to happen there around the stabling area and the parade ring. And once all that's finished, that facility is going to be arguably the best true country club facility in the state.
I think so too, and I think they're doing a great job. You caught up with Mickey Gadsden, mates, and fair to say it was a random sort of conversation between the pair of you?
Yeah, I caught up with Mickey. I wanted to do look at his masterclass drive, mixed masterclass. I'm going to call this next segment. The last one was the harebrained idea, and see, at least I've got the guts to name something. So I'm going to. This one's Mickey's mixed masterclass.
What are you saying? You're saying I won't name something just because I called it a show with no name?
Yeah, it's. What about the if we're going to call it the show with no name, we've got to have this theme for the show can be I rode through the desert on a horse with no name.
There's copyrights on these things. You know these things.
I produced that last week, but he doesn't come along.
It's the racing show with no name. At least it's got a little bit of intrigue. Look, hopefully if we get one of our three people that are viewing, and you can tell your mum she's about ready to turn off, and go back to watching the news. But someone might be able to come up with a name for us. Nothing? He's got nothing. He either hasn't heard us or...
Well, hopefully someone does come up with a name, Paul, but after the day call joke earlier, I'll be lucky to get out of this place alive.
She'll make you cut down some more trees, don't you worry about that. Mate, I'm going to throw to this interview with yourself and Mick Gadsden. We'll get you on next week. I might be live with you. Who knows? Who knows where we'll be, and the show could go forever and a day. Tobes, thank you very much for joining us today. It's a random conversation that you brought up, and we'll bring up the interview with Mickey right now, mate.
Being joined today by Mick Gadsden, and Paul, we're going to name this Mick. We're going to name this Mick's Masterclass, and I'm just asking you to take us back to the wonderful masterclass you've done. You've had a few wonderful drives over the journey, and you're not shy about coming forward on your talents steering, which many people wouldn't regard you as. And we're going to go back to the 24th of October. Before we get there, your day's been good, and where do we find you today?
The day's gone pretty well. I worked the horses this morning and just shot through to stall at the moment. Got 4 to shoe for Mark Vegas and Linda Meach this afternoon. Through to Ararat to shoe 1 more for Tracy Collins and then duck home. So, pretty quiet day.
Yeah, very good, mate. Yeah, so let's go back to Little Believer on the 24th of October. And by this stage, the horse had 51 starts, 2 wins, no seconds and 3 thirds. You did drive it for its 2 wins. On both occasions, it drew the pole. And it was drawing the pole again at Mildura, and you were going up. What did you think your chances were as you were heading up there?
As funny as it sounds for a horse that I think he only beat about 3 home in his last 6 starts, I was actually pretty confident. He's one little horse that if he can sort of get the front, he does find an extra 3 or 4 lengths. And there wasn't a great deal of speed off the front, I thought. So I thought I could hold through, but just needed a little bit of luck in running, which he got plenty of that.
You think his reputation of not being the best horse in Victoria helped meant that they left you alone a little bit? Is that what you sort of got away with? You did get away with a 32-9, 35-second second quarter. Do you think that's why they left you alone?
Yeah, a little bit. And I think too that sort of was it below 45 class, whatever it is. It's one of those races too. There's probably not a lot of horses in it that could sort of really make the move to put themselves into the race without doing too much. And what helped too was I was talking to Albie Ashwood the week after, and he was laughing sort of about the slow sectionals and that. And I said, well, I've tried it 3 or 4 times when I've let on him, but every time you've been straight around. So I said it was good that we got a bit of luck that mainly you weren't in the race, which helped us a lot. But it's just one of those things that you can sometimes get away with it on those sort of smaller tracks where people are just sort of happy to sit and play for luck, especially when the 50-1 shot's in front. Just let it sort of sort itself out, and that sort of eventuated, but you just got it a little bit too easy in front.
And at about the 300, 400, you got headed?
Yeah. Kyle Costello sat to me outside, and he sat there pretty patiently, and then sort of got to the scoreboard as most do at Mildura, and that's sort of that's the big green go button. Everyone sort of starts getting going there, and he done the same, and he sort of nearly all but headed me there, all but crossed me nearly going into the corner. I thought if you can just keep poking through until he gets to the bend, that extra ground that Kyle's horse have to cover should level us up a bit if I can get there. But he, to the horse's credit, actually, he fought on pretty well. Like, considering he got headed sort of 400 from home, he actually he done the job.
Yeah, it was a absolute masterclass drive, and I know Brian Gaff took a lot of note on it, and he hopes to become a similar front-running driver to what you did that night at Mildura. Yeah,
well, Joey Thompson rang me that night from Charlton there, and he rang me. He said, "That little B." He said, "I'm looking for him." I said, "Yeah, he's speaking." But no, it's just one of those. Got that slow sort of half, and then being able to go from that 35 to a 29.5 quarter just gets a lot of those horses off the bit, and a lot of those sort of lower assessed horses, they're not real keen on sort of picking themselves back up once the bit does drop out of their mouth a bit. So that's sort of what won in the race more than anything.
Now, it's well known you've settled at Charlton at the training complex there. I was actually there at Charlton on Tuesday, and I drove up and down the main street looking for, the Mick Gadsden lives here sign, similar to what Karen Manning's got at Great Western, but I couldn't find it. So maybe you can let us know exactly where they've put that big sign up for you.
We'll end up painting the water tower right up on top of the hill because we bought the house next to that. So, we got the keys to that last week, which was good. I was sort of living as a bit of a nomad there for a while in the caravan park and just sort of trying to settle in and trying to find a place. And, the property market at Charlton's pretty hot. So it took us probably 3 months to find something, but we ended up buying the house right on top of the hill. So we've got the highest point at Charlton. So everyone better behave themselves because we'll be looking in.
Fair enough. And spare bedroom for the visitors when they come up to stay.
Yeah, a couple of spare bedrooms and a granny flat. So, any of the boys, I said to them, if they're getting tired coming home from Mildura or whatever and save that extra hour and a half, they want to just lob themselves in the granny flat for the night, they're more than welcome.
All right, well, thanks for coming on, Mick. I know we've had a little bit of fun with this, but the serious side to it is it was a great result for your dad and a great result for you, and it just shows the depth of the sport, that horses from so far down to so far up, and there's a story to tell behind them all.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the one thing we can really take out of the rating system, I think, is that these horses that have won their one race and that's sort of it for them, they're able to keep punching around and sort of, pay for a bit of fun doing it. So, no, it's been good.
Thanks again, Mick.
No worries.
We're back. Don't let the black thing happen. I got up. I had so much time up my sleeve, and we don't let that happen. We are joined by the CEO of the Meadows Greyhound Racing Track, Ashley Baker. Like I didn't call him Barker, isn't it? Which I said before, but it's all good. Ashley, firstly, thank you very much for joining a show with no name, mate. You've done a great job, but it is a racing show with no name, but we still haven't got a name. So if you can come up with a name, we've got a chance, all right?
Thanks for having me. I'm more worried about following the first guest. He seemed to be reasonably entertaining. I'm not sure I'm going to be that entertaining for your guest, but we'll see how we go.
Just don't tell him that. That encourages him.
I was going to say, he'll be still tuned on. He'll be listening to his own little video just then. He'll be so happy about it. He's incredibly random. He was 5 minutes late, which put you back on the back burner too. So don't give him too many raps, that's for sure.
Right, we'll leave it at that then.
Well, it's appropriate that Ash is actually one of our first greyhound guests, because Ash has also delved in the horses as well. How's the Spring Carnival treating you, Ash? You're once a bloodstock agent, or involved in the bloodstock as well?
Yeah, it's been very different Spring Carnival for me. From a punting point of view, I've had no luck, but it's been interesting watching certainly these big tracks like Caulfield and Flemington have no crowds there, and how they're handling things from their coverage, and sort of trying to, look at whether there's learnings our industry can take away from their broadcast and all of that. But look, having had an interest at Werribee for a short period of time, I'm certainly following that story out of the Melbourne Cup pretty closely, because it's been a very contentious issue for the last few years, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a subject, obviously, in all three codes with the animal welfare. It's certainly something we've got to be on the front foot with in all instances, as often as we can, as strong as we can. But sometimes the answers aren't always there either.
No, look, it's a difficult one. I was actually just reading an article while I was waiting for you guys that Peter Belandis had commented on regarding the Melbourne Cup, and trying to fix our own backyard as opposed to worrying about anything else. But it's got to be at the forefront in everything that we do, and it should really drive the way that we operate and the way that we do our business.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, exactly, mate. You talk about watching the way they've done their coverage. Of course, you started back in the maturity in July and did some off-track coverage once the crowds weren't allowed. Monday night was your Group 1 Hume Cup night. Normally, probably the biggest night of the year at the Meadows with people on course, and you probably have the best weather there's been for the last 10 or 12 years, so very frustrating. But you guys have adapted to Twitter and Facebook Live and some Sky 2 stuff and whatnot, so you're obviously very well prepared to do that, and you've got a few ideas moving forward as well, and obviously for Saturday night for the Top Gun.
Yeah, look, Troy, it's COVID sort of came quickly off the back of the Australian Cup Carnival, where we have three big nights, and a few thousand people here on the final night. All of a sudden, having no one on course was really surreal sort of feeling. And then obviously the maturity, we had a bit of time to sort of sit back and plan about how we wanted things to look for our maturity in July. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned, particularly from an event activation and a product point of view, is activating that digital space and trying to leverage off as much of those assets as we can. One of the most obvious ones for us was creating a bit of a Facebook Live opportunity, so that we could bring as much of the on-course stuff to some people at home that perhaps Sky couldn't do at the time, and it was a really huge success. So we've gone into that again. Well, we did it for the Speed Star, which we held this year with the Sandown track being out of operation, and we're doing it again this Saturday night with the Top Gun. With some small additions, it'll run live through the Watchdog app, which will be a big bonus for us as well. And we'll keep trying to build on that product, because I think if you've got to learn something out of COVID, is that we've got to change the way we do our business, and it's not always going to be the same.
Yeah, I think we've adapted and obviously opened our eyes a little bit to the way we can do things with people not being on course. It's also could be a major asset to sell the future events when we start to be able to bring the atmosphere that is on course, when people can come back, to those that didn't decide to make it or couldn't make it, and encourage them to come back in the future. So there's still plenty of avenues there, and the Watchdog app, I think, is going to be a huge boost to ground racing.
Yeah, look, we're a very big family-orientated club. We're right in the middle of the Hume City Council municipality, so we put a lot of emphasis on our family events. But what this has shown me is that we've got to continue to focus on our product and the athlete, and that's the greyhound. The more we can promote that side of the way we do our business, I think you're going to perhaps try and bring back that crowd in that 18 to 35 bracket that are at home at the moment, sitting on the couch with a six-pack and their sports bet tab app, whatever they're doing. But if we can create a bit more of a vibe around the track again, using some of those digital assets, then you might sort of see a little bit of patronage return to the track.
One of the big things I try to emphasise to people is about the randomness, and this hence the reason we're going at 6:30 tonight, because a lot of people have finished work, they sit down on a couch and they can go from there. So I put a show out. It's we're trying to just promote in a little way what we can. That's where Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms are great access. I mean, we need Sky Channel, we need that die-hard punter somewhere for them to be able to tune into, don't we? But to be able to just hopefully get someone flicking past and says, geez, have a look at these two clowns sitting up here talking about a show with no name. But then we might be able to convert one person. If we can convert one person in 12 months, well, then you've got a half a chance. Then I think that's the way I look at things differently, and I'm rapt that you guys are prepared to, put your head out there and try it as well. I think some people get very scared of social media. There's a great button. It's called block or unfollow. You don't worry about it too much. It fixes everything, I think.
Yeah. Oh, look, I think first and foremost, we've got to be confident and proud of the industries we work in, and not shy away from that. And by being transparent and open and honest about what we do and how we do it, I think will not only put people like you and I in much better positions going forward, but it'll also help educate people out there that perhaps have seen little bits of negative news stories, whether it be through print or ABC or whatever they might have seen. But if we can educate people out there by using these sort of mediums, and like you said, you've only got to convert one person for that ripple effect to occur. But going back to your point about social media, the one thing we've done a bit of analysis is around getting the interaction and getting the best bang for your buck when you're doing these sort of things. And time of day is obviously a big part of that. When's the best time to put your posts up? When's the best time to broadcast? But also, I think that the second part of that is, for us as an industry, we need to be able to capitalise on all those assets across social media and try and link them into, so that we've got a much more streamlined media asset that we can put out there to the public. So instead of having two people running a Facebook show and then another two people running a Twitter feed and then another two people on Sky, what can we do to streamline all of that so that there's one dedicated source of information, particularly on our big nights, going out through all those channels with bits and pieces here and there. And it's about, you look at the NBA and the NFL and those American sports that bring you every angle of every bit of vision from every corner of the stadiums. We need to do that. We need to take that next step and create that sort of product.
Absolutely, and I think one of the key things too, and we got people. I got Duncan McPherson, who's actually one of the proprietors of Aldebaran Park. He's tuned in, but Darren Emerson, Cameron McKeady. If you can mention these people's names sometimes too, that's just enough to say, well, and they're taking enough time to mention my name and get it out there. It is a little bit scary, social media, but you can capitalise on it very quickly too if you can market your product the right way.
Absolutely. It's just about engagement. And I was just saying to Troy off air quickly, it's about having the right talent. It's about having the right people on camera, the right people to engage those people at home that want to get involved.
Yep. One thing I think the ground racing's done the last 6 months that I wouldn't criticise they didn't do well before, but it's probably done few and far between. Let's start championing the champions of the sport and putting a bit more profile on the actual animal and the people with the animals. And obviously Saturday night you've got a couple of those wonderful stories in the Top Gun that I've seen the last 10 or 12 years. But we got the likes of Tommy Shelby raising money each, and I think it's 5% for November during the month of November, and you guys have got some good social media posts out about that. And
including the one that's on right now.
Exactly, so, yeah. Right. And the Simon Told Helen stories and the like. Just championing the participants and championing the animal is certainly something we've done very well, and I think that leads into making sure that those who may not have known a lot about the Shimmer Shines and the Simon Told Helens in the past, they do know about that now just as much as they know about the LeBron Jameses.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that sort of goes back to my point. It's about selling the athletes of our sport, and like the ground racing industry has been through a really tough time over the last 5 years, and to be honest, that having come from the thoroughbred industry into greyhounds, to see what this industry has done in terms of rebuilding and relaunching itself, and to be probably in a stronger position than it's ever been, it's now time the ship's really steady. It's now time to sort of put the focus on the athletes of the sport and promote the people, promote the stories behind it, and get that human interest side of it going in. And that's where your engagement will come back. We know we have good integrity. We know we have good compliance. we know we're well regulated. It's now time to sell the product.
As a harness person, sorry Troy, but as a harness person, I think being there at Geelong and trying to bring as good a coverage as we could. Troy mentioned there before about Simone being out in the weather underneath a marquee. She put up with all that, listening to, and I don't know the gentleman's name, but the trainer, as Simon told Helen, and he was almost in tears. Simone done a great job because she just let him keep telling his story. And anyone thinks that racing people don't care. They just want to listen to that from two people's point of view. One, the trainer, and secondly, Simone, because she was getting wet. It was horrible. It was nice inside, wasn't it, Troy? But it was a horrible night. But, to get that story out and people to be able to listen to it was brilliant. And, I think that showcases what racing is all about.
I think that's one thing we do really well as an industry and as a sport compared to other sports where you perhaps might have people in senior roles that don't necessarily have backgrounds in that certain field of sport. People that work in racing from all levels, 99% of them do it because they love it. They love the people, they love the sport, they love the animals. And I think that's where we are really different and we can set ourselves aside from other sports. And that's where we got to be smart about trying to sell it. You need the people like Simone telling those stories about David Burnett and Simon Told Helen, whether it be in the rain or in the cold, dark winter's night. It's about getting those stories out and really capitalising on that. And I think that's where we've got to continue to just keep building our product.
Now, mate, the Meadows is the home to, what is it now, 9 or 10 Group 1s these days?
10 now, Troy.
10 Group 1s, and 3 of those are in the space of, 5 days or 6 days this week. Obviously, we had the Hume Cup on Monday night gone, but the Top Gun and the Top Gun stayers, I mean, the Top Gun's been around for quite a few years.
You've got to help me.
Which
Which one are you going to go with?
We'll go with the Top Gun stayers first. But the Top Gun itself's been around for quite some time. The Top Gun stayers is a relatively new event to the program, but a Group 1 race already worth $75,000. The winner, I think this is the second year you've been run on Stakes Day as opposed to Cox Plate Night. But obviously the Top Gun stayers, you'd be very happy with the field you've got for a Group 1 staying race. I don't think you've missed anything that doesn't deserve to be there.
No, Troy, it's come up really well. I mean, we were sort of fearful that COVID might stop a little bit of interstate travel or some dogs sort of coming back down from Sydney after contesting sort of their main races in October. So we're pretty happy with the quality of that field. You've got sort of the old warriors like Tornado Tears, and you've got sort of these up and coming sort of stayers like Sunset Bursky, who's going to go around favourite. Unfortunately, Classy Ethics has just been scratched late this afternoon after pulling up a little bit sore this morning after doing a bit of work yesterday. So I think Rockstar B was the first reserve, so that'll go in and take its place now. But good field. There could be a good story come out of the stayers. If Tornado Tears could win the race, he'll break the $1 million prize money barrier. So he's drawn a touch awkwardly, I guess, in the middle, but he's coming off the back of 2 pretty strong distance wins, and he's certainly not out of it.
Well, he certainly loves the Meadows as well. 12 starts over the 7, 25 of the Meadows for 8 wins and 2 placings. So it would be nice to see another greyhound join the $1 million club. But I think any of the runners that you got in the stayers would be certainly deserving of getting a Group 1 trophy, mate. And the Top Gun Sprint, it's an incredible race. The depth of the race just shows that a greyhound like Hardstyle Rico, that ran ridiculous time on Monday night, couldn't make the field. Obviously, he's not a Group 1 winner, so that's probably one of the reasons. But it's just such an outstanding field that a dog like him would probably start second or third favourite if he gets a run, and he's sitting there number 9. So it's a credit to you guys to attract such a field, and as you said, from all over the country.
Yeah, remarkable field. I thought last year, which was my first Top Gun, was going to be hard to top, but just the fact we've got a little bit of interstate flavour through dogs like Mickey, who's probably not in as good a form as he was maybe 6 months ago, but he's not had a lot of luck to quantify that either. But Simon Told Helen, Shimmer Shine, Tommy Shelby, it's great to have him. He's great for our sport, but he's also a superstar greyhound. So it's going to be a really interesting race. I think that first sort of coming out of the first corner is going to tell the tale, like it did last year with Get a Gizmo, sort of getting the rails up and getting inside a lot of that traffic. But look, Hardstyle Rico we spoke hard and long about him on the panel as to whether or not he should find that final spot, and ultimately it came down to that elusive Group 1 win.
Yes, I suppose Golden Knight jumped ahead of Hardstyle Rico by winning the Adelaide Cup.
Yeah, so obviously that's part of the conditions of the race. Is the winner of the Adelaide Cup gets an automatic start. One thing is I've noticed throughout this process, and we will bring a review probably after this weekend's race, but we'll look at all the conditions of the Top Gun leading into next year's event for a number of reasons. One, the Adelaide Cup, and two, the $1 Million Chase is obviously building a profile. We've got to look at where that sits in the process in terms of the finalists or the winner of that race, and see where that sits. But look, Golden Knight deserves his spot there. It's part of the conditions of the Top Gun, and look, he's probably going to be one of the roughies of the race. But you can never. I mean, like I said, Get It Gizmo showed us last year that with a bit of luck, anyone can win it.
Well, the great thing about invitation races, whether it be the Top Gun or the Cox Plate or a Miracle Mile, there's always a bit of controversy, and that, I think, what creates the aura of these races and why they quickly become races that people want to watch and talk about, and they get talked about for the next 11 months as to who's going to get in next time. So I think they're wonderful discussions to take, and while the Hardstyle Rico crew might be disappointed, I think they should be pretty proud of what their ground did on Monday night, of course, in the Silver Bullet, but also the fact that might not be in the top 8, but you're in the top 10 dogs in the country to get a run on the Top Gun. And you're talking a tick over $2 million in prize money already, so you're not talking a sloucher's race.
No, and that's apart from a harness racing person. First and foremost, you look at the prize money, it just blows my mind, I must say. Our actual previous co-host, he's still joined in, which is good. It's always good for ratings when he does, but he's strongly in the Catch the Thief camp. Toby McKinnon, good luck, Matt Clark. So I'd say he might be a bit of a mate of Matt Clark's, I would suggest.
Yeah, I'd say so. Matty's been involved. I think Matty might have been involved at the Yarra Glen racetrack at some stage, I think.
That'll be where it comes from with Toby.
Pretty sure that's what the connection is with Toby. But mate, have you got a tip of the two big ones on Saturday night?
Look, I'm a massive Shimmer Shine fan, and I last year he was probably a half head away from crossing that field, and he probably would have went on to win the Top Gun, but he just couldn't get across and struck trouble. So from the check, he's going to get every chance. I mean, look, they're all good. Tommy Shelby's a good starter and box one will suit him, but I just think Shimmer Shine will get to that first corner without any trouble. And I think the three of them are equal favourites pretty much. Tommy Shelby, Shimmer Shine, and Simon Told Helen. If I had to pick one, he'd be my first pick. And in the stayers, look, Sunset Bursky showed us here at the Speed Star that he's certainly a super stayer, but I'd love to see Tornado Tears win and break the $1 million mark. I just think it'd be a great story for the industry, and he's can't be too far away from retirement, this greyhound. So if he could win from there, it'd be a great story. But look, two really good quality races. I'm looking at the field now, and I don't think anyone in there wouldn't be deserving of winning the race. So I just hope they all get around safely, and the best greyhound on the night gets the job done.
Now, mate, yourself, GRV and Sandown have got together for the first ever Metropolitan Festival of Racing over this 4 weeks. There's 10 group races. Obviously, it started with the Hume Cup on Monday night and finishes with the Bold Teresa Melbourne Cup final at Sandown on the 27th of November. Clearly, you would have loved to have been promoting the fact that there's 4 weeks of Metropolitan racing for people to attend, but now you're going to be promoting 4 weeks of the highest quality racing. How's that gone so far? And is it something you're looking forward to do in the future with yourself, Sandown, and of course GRV?
Yeah, I think it's a good concept, Troy. Obviously, traditionally, the two clubs, well, us and Sandown, would run our own carnivals separately at this time of year. Whilst we do as much as we can in collaboration, we would normally traditionally market the Hume Cup and Top Gun as one sort of event, and then it flows onto the Melbourne Cup and their sort of feature races. But I like the idea of the Metro Festival of Racing and the whole Festival of Racing concept. I think it's something that greyhound racing needs, and hopefully in sort of 3 to 5 years' time, it becomes a bit of the regular vernacular of our sport, so that people start getting used to the fact the Hume Cup kicks off a massive carnival, and it goes all the way through to the Australian Cup next February. So I think it's a good concept. I think there'll be plenty to build on over the next couple of years, but I like the idea of it, and it's all about promoting the sport, like we keep saying.
I think there's 8 feature race finals with about $900,000 on offer to the 8 winners combined. So it's a nice month of racing.
Absolutely. Toby McKinnon did chime back in. Was at Yarra Glen Racecourse manager for a long time. He was. Matt Clark was. The bloke was unbelievable on 1%ers when mowing and whippersnipping. So no doubt he's like that with his greyhound, hence the success. So you get completely random with Toby, I can tell you. It's wasn't expecting that.
That's great. So, mate, been 18 months now you've been at the Meadows?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I started in June last year, so I've had a very interesting introduction or initiation into the industry. I had storms on my first couple of Group 1s, and I've had poor weather throughout. I had to sit there on Monday night and watch one of the most beautiful evenings we've had here, and there was no one sitting out on the deck having a beer or having a palmer. We were just sitting there with our masks on and trying to get the job done. So I'll be looking forward to 2021 and hopefully taking some steps forward from where I've been. But it's been a really good 18 months, Troy. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, hopefully we can welcome people back for the Silver Chief in the first week in January and kick on from there, mate.
I hope so.
Sounds good.
Ash, Campbell's comments is about promoting racing and what I do with Troy with the Bendigo Greyhounds and all the rest. The next story I'm going to throw to in a minute is another harness story. But, I mean, if people have a greyhound story and a good story out there, I want to promote it in that light. So I'm going to throw out with another story in a second of just a nice achievement that happened last Sunday night and try and promote the people that probably don't get the 927 and Sky coverage going forward. But going forward, I mean, if you guys come across a story, get in touch with us and, we'd love to put it on the show as well. And I really appreciate you giving your time up and cancelling your gym appointment. I think that's very grand of you, mate.
Yeah, my staff are probably sick of hearing me putting on weight during the stage 4 lockdown, so I took some action and got some PT sessions, and I said to Troy, I'll cancel tonight to come on the show. So, no, it's great to be on. I'm a big advocate for putting as much content as we can out there, so I'm always happy to help, and I'll certainly keep you and your nameless program on the agenda for any news articles that come up, because I think the more we get out there, the better.
Absolutely, and showcase what we have so good. One quick thing before I go. Are you going to put a greyhound picture up at the top wall, or are you going to leave it as a thoroughbred going across the line?
Yeah, so you're probably seeing the 2% of it that looks in reasonable order, but it's my Lonro photo that Darren Beeman signs. That goes everywhere with me, no matter where I'm working. So it just hasn't been hung up yet. So I probably should get a couple of greyhound pictures up in the office.
Mate, I'd keep that. I was a massive fan, and if I had got a signed one, it'd be sitting up the back here, so don't worry. It's all good, that's for sure. Ash, thank you very much. And as I just alluded to, I'm going to throw out to an interview with Neville Pangrazio that I did earlier. They're Group 1 winning family, but if you'd have seen, it's quite funny. The one thing we miss with having crowds, owners and trainers, they've had Group 1 winners this season, but they had a trotter trying to win his first race, trying to do everything right the other night, called Will Dom's Ave, and Nev's probably lucky there is no crowds, because Nev would have took out 50. I reckon he would have made the State of Origin team. He was going round. This was prior to celebrating. Don't worry, he was getting a bit nervous. So these are the stories. So I'll throw to this interview. Ash, thank you very much for joining us, mates, and hopefully we'll get you back out here, back on the show, or we might do the show live from there one day, and that'd be terrific, mate.
Anytime, and you're most welcome here at any time. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Neville Pangrazio joins me now. Campbell's comments, a show with no name. Nev, I want to get you on. Myself and Daniel Hibbard were at Shepparton the other night, mate, and to see a person that's had as much experience and highlights in harness racing as what you and Louise have had. The nerves that were going on before the running of race number 4 on the night. Actually, interestingly enough, the Barristock Vic Bred. How good am I going looking after my sponsors? I didn't actually realise that, Nev, until just then. But with Will Dom's Ave, firstly, mate, thank you very much for joining me. And can you explain your nerves before the race?
Paul, I'm always nervous. Doesn't matter if it's a Group 1 or just a CO. Will Dom's Ave, he's a little trotter that my brother, my sister-in-law actually bred by Tando Trump, our stallion, and he's got some grunt, and he's got some things that he does that you just get a little worried about all the time, and so he's always going to make me nervous. He did it all right the other night though.
He did it real good. I think he had one of the best on in the game for a horse like him, and I'm not knocking anyone else that's driven him, because the 10 No Trumps are beautiful horses and they're such an infectious horse, but they can be a bit tricky, can't they?
Yeah, they can be. They can be a bit hot at times, but we've also had some that are just beautiful and quiet. So I think it's the mother that does a lot through, we call him Monty, 10 No Trump. So they seem to be hot and cold. They're beautiful around the stables, and there's others that get on the track, and then the little white eye turns on, and there's two of them. It's the other one that's hard to control. The one around the stable is very easy. It's the one out in the track's hard to control. So yeah, Alfred was certainly the man for the job that night.
He handled it beautifully. We've still got a lap to go in the video. The name, I don't have any issues with it, which is saying something, because I can have a lot of trouble with a lot of names. But Will Dom Zave, for the punters at home, mate, where does the name come from?
My three nephews, Adrian and Bianca's sons, William, Dominic, and Xavier. So it's simple.
And that's so it has a little bit of meaning. So I said to you about nerves, and it was quite interesting because I don't watch a races probably as closely when I don't have to do a driver's interview post race, and it's about here that I noticed you were edgy. Louise does get on toe. You've got her covered in spades. I mean, you were getting real edgy, just pacing around and the likes, which I love. And that's why I wanted you on the show, because I love the fact that you put so much emotion into these horses racing.
Yeah, I can't stand still. I just can't. I can't sit down. I have to stand up. And we probably made a bit of noise coming up the straight too. There's hardly a crowd there, but I think on the video you can hear us yelling out. So yeah, we get excited.
Absolutely, but that's what it's about, isn't it? Harness racing's about. As I said, you guys have been in the game for a long, long time. Mum and Dad obviously raced 10 No Trump, but they've been in it for a long time. But each winner is hard. Even here, like at the 400 metre mark, when the leader stopped, the short price favourite, you must have been thinking, "Oh no, not again."
Yeah, I was actually, because he doesn't like things in front of him. So we thought he's gonna chuck it in. He's gonna gallop. Something's gonna happen. And, oh no! Look at him coming back on him. I was really getting worried. So and he had to wait for Tiber to get level with him so he could push out too, because so he had to wait a bit longer than usual. And when he got out, he was clear. And when he sees clear space, he's pretty good. It's when he's cluttered up that I'm worried most, and so I was worried most the whole race.
He must have been making a bit of footsteps or loud footsteps, because it looked like Laura and Damien had the race sewn to bits, but Damien was looking over his shoulder. I think Damien was comfortable. He had Laura beat, but he must have been making a little bit of noise that caught Damien's attention too. You can just see up that straight, can't you?
Yeah. He's actually a very good horse, Wildham's Dave. He's going to win a few more. I was told not to say too much, but I think he's a nice little horse, and he'll improve a lot next year. So he's got to get this season out of the way, where it's a big learning curve for him. So I think he'll be a real nice horse later on.
You and Louise, you don't train a lot of horses. You only have a handful of horses, so every win is great, but you've got a small family, and you have a full-on love for harness racing, don't you?
Yeah, we're born into it. I remember watching Sheffield Thor go around at Moonee Valley, and I was probably, 9 or 10, I don't know how old I was, but we realised, or we thought back then, how easy it was, and got in your blood. Very, very hard to get out. I think I've got most of it in my blood. All my siblings, there's 7 of us, so we've all got a horse or two now, but I'm the one who's gone sort of all in. Yeah, so, it's we love it. I love harness racing. I'll do it till I die, I suppose. So, yeah, it's hard to get out.
Neville Pangrazio, thank you very much, mate. I'm going to do a lot more with you, but thank you very much for the quick little interview on tonight's show, mate. Thanks for your time.
No problem at all.
Got to stop doing that, Hales. You've got to get ready and be on target, on time at all the times. Easiest way to get a daughter to go back down the stairwells too is go back live, isn't it?
Swing the camera around.
She took off like a bat out of hell, and I definitely don't blame her, that's for sure. We're back. That was great. That was great of Ash. She gave us plenty of time, and that's what I want this show to be. As I said, it's got no name. Hopefully someone may come up with a name. If not, it'll still just be the racing show with no name.
Yeah, a bit of Seinfeld in that. Show about nothing.
And who knows what we're going to discuss. One time we might discuss, like do that, have an in-depth conversation with, and I mean, what they're doing there at the Meadows. And I think that's where Jess Tubbs works. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep. Certainly does. So, between themselves and Sandown, but the profile they give grain racing, obviously the country clubs, we do as much as we can with the best, but obviously they've got a little bit more access to talent and funds, and obviously the high profile races, etc. and whatnot, and they do a great job of it, and it's good to see the two clubs getting together over this next month or so with the help of GRV, of course, and hopefully we'll get Adrian on from Sandown when it leads into the Melbourne Cup, and they're on top of the world, obviously the track back racing particularly well, and they'll close the festival of racing with their $435,000 winner Melbourne Cup. So.
I have the odd mental blank from time to time. Do you reckon I can remember Adrian's name? Not a hope in hell. It's Scott, the last name. Isn't
Adrian Scott. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. I had the last bit. I was going to call him Scotty if nothing else happened.
And
he
answers a lot of things.
It would have worked, but we did have him on songs ago. But I mean, at least like we can get out there, do a few of these things, and we'll go forward. We're going to rotate it. We'll go everywhere. Hopefully, maybe get back to a couple of racetracks when we can, and the likes, instead of being up here where it gets a little bit hot, and go from there. It's going to be a random show about a lot of random things, just a couple of little things. And we want to publicise the smaller people as much as the big people as well. We're not going to just go for the small people, so anyone thinks, they're going to look after the little person. That won't happen. If the story is there to be told, we'll tell it. Great story out of Terang the other night. Ian Stanley, Michael Stanley, his son does lots of good work. Ian got a winner with one of the slowest horses he reckons he's ever bred. That was one of the dearest horses he's ever had to purchase. So it is improving, I must say. It's out of a mare called Blue Collar Tiger by some beach somewhere, but I think it would have been one of the more rewarding wins for Ian Stanley going forward. And Dave Murphy's another one. Just want to give a bit of a sing out to Dave's. They do a great job. They've got a couple of kids. They're getting the kids into the industry too. A lot of families don't have the kids coming through the industry, but Brent and Declan, the younger version, are definitely really, really keen. Murph got a winner Monday night at Terang. He got a winner Tuesday at Charlton, and then again Wednesday night at Ballarat. So for a small stable, he's batting way above his average there at the minute. He's doing a great job.
Yesterday, one of the three races we ran at Bendigo, our grounds with Mick Pello, only races a giveaway or two every now and again. Got his first winner since July 2017. So
and no one there to share it with him.
So he's a Richmond Tigers man. So he's had three other victories in between as far as the football went. But basically he's won three races and three flags in 3 years.
Absolutely. Duncan McPherson, he was on a little bit earlier. Redwood Day was a huge day. The Mexican for Josh Dickey, well done to them from New Zealand. Having to send a horse out with COVID-19, not be able to bring it, would have been sweet and sour, I suppose. Pink Galahs, I've done a story with Matty Craven this week, but I'm actually going to go there and do a feature with them in the next couple of weeks, which it's just a great story. I mean, they were pretty humbled when they won the Bill Collins Mile. Now it's just about every race she goes in, she's expected to win. So
she's down the beach now, doing a bit of beach fun.
If you go on to Matt Craven's Facebook page, he'll be happy. He'll try and sign you up as an owner, but go onto his Facebook page, turn the volume on. I can tell you that water was cold. When his knees went underwater, I'm fairly confident it was a high-pitched squeal. It may have come out. It wasn't a dolphin, I can say that.
I did watch the big race at Melton on Saturday night as well, and a wonderful drive by Amanda Turnbull. But do you reckon B. Gaff could have pushed any harder to try and win a Group 1 in the twilight of his career?
Absolutely. I think Amanda would have been rapt to have won a Group 1. She'll probably look back and think, I probably cost him his last one, maybe. But, I mean, he's still driving as good as anyone is out there.
The seat needs to be rescrewed on. He just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. It was a wonderful drive, Amanda Turnbull.
Well, that was a Bathurst drive. The old Bathurst track. Take the shortcuts in between. You guys are going way too early, and I think they were. I think that was the part. As good a drive as she was, there was probably a couple other guys that just got going before acceptances, and they changed the race. And one little horse that slipped under the radar from Redwood Day is a horse called Majestuoso. For the greyhound guys out there, want to follow a horse that is going to compete in the big stage and be very, very dangerous. Majestuoso, he is getting everything together. High speed, he can be last and out-ping them, a little bit like Pink Galahs, or like he did at the free-for-all, which I haven't seen him do, come off the arm, sensational, and he was terrific. So it was really good. Trots Vision tomorrow night. I'm at Bendigo. 5:40 is the first. 10:52 unfortunately is the last, so it's going to be late night. Kirsten Graham's going to join me there, and I think there's a little bit of value. I can't work this out. Horses keep winning. They keep winding them out further and further. Race 1, number 5, Pearls for Tash. I don't understand it, but Mary Jane Mifsud and Daniel Jack, they're doing a great job. So yeah.
See, every loss you're closer to win, but every win you're closer to loss, I suppose.
Absolutely. Daniel Hibbard's going to come on to us at the end of it as the show. I also just wanted to give one. Ready to Run sale for Nutrien. I was there yesterday, and they're trying to do different things, trying to really bring it out. Any harness racing people, go to their website, nutrien.equine, and they follow the links to the standardbreds. Go and view all their video footage. All the video footage from Shepparton is up now, and Menangle will be run on Sunday. They're ready to run, got washed out last Sunday.
Incredible, isn't it?
And where's yours?
We hope to announce some dates hopefully next week or the week after.
Yep.
We would expect to be in March. Just trying to find the right slot around some other feature races that are going on and being rescheduled, but we expect to announce that the deferred one will be run in March, and then we'll run another one in November, and fingers crossed it might be the first of many dual ready races per annum.
Hopefully by then I've got all my buttons pushed and worked out, and we'll be able to showcase it. But we're definitely going to be a little bit like what Ash said there before. We'll be pushing the boundaries as what we can and can't do as far as social media going into that stage, won't we? We'll be trying to showcase as many of the talent that's there as we can. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. And so we just got about to throw to Daniel, who's calling his first tab race tomorrow. Lifelong friend of mine and my father's, passed away on Monday in Newcastle, Hunter Valley, Johnny McDermott. And if you get a chance to get on the Sky Racing socials and have a look at the tribute to Macca, it's a wonderful life and a wonderful man, Johnny McDermott. He's called all three codes. He called a stack of inner-city paces at Maitland, which was the be-all and end-all of harness racing in Hunter Valley at the time. Newcastle Cups and Cameron Handicaps for the Newcastle Jockey Club, but Graham Racing was his first and final love, and he called through Beaumont Park and Cessnock and Maitland and ended up at the Gardens and stuff. He's been crook for the last 12 months or so, but unfortunately lost his battle on Monday, but a wonderful tribute was done by Greg Radley and Tim Newbold there, and just the race calling, just the family that race callers and racing media certainly have came through that tribute, and we certainly wish Daniel all the best in his first tab call tomorrow, and hopefully he pulls 50 years like Macca did as well. He's
a touch on edge, but he's looking forward to it. He doesn't mind fancying himself a little bit as a tipster. To be brutally honest, I told him he's got to come up with some tips, because I probably need him to be sponsored. I nearly need to get my name off that Hales. I reckon would make it a little bit more glossy, but he's come up with two at Cobram tomorrow. He's given us a few. So Night School, he was very keen on this one for Steve Boynton, who celebrated his 58th birthday the other day. He reckons he's not 60, but I'm not sure. What about David Aiken, just on the birthdays? David Aiken, he got all these birthday wishes yesterday, but his birthday's in March. So I don't know what was going on there, but I think someone was playing a joke. Race 1, number 5, Night School, and then race 2, number 1, Just Bling It, Crisco. They're a couple of Daniel's favourites. He does sort of stay local, don't you worry about that. Bendigo, I think he pulled this one for me. Honolulu Bay for the Aiken Camp, and Our Georgina Rose, race 2 and race 11. He's gone for the last race with Our Georgina Rose. And then he slips over to Melton, and he's showing his Golden Valley loyalty. He's gone with Bopper Jet and Sir Letic each way, which is actually a pretty brave tip, I think, but he's keen on it, so I think good luck to him. There's no hassles there, that's for sure.
But one thing I forgot to mention was Ray Hennis last Saturday morning.
We've had on the show a couple of times.
Yeah, certainly is, and watches all the time. He had 7 runners in at Bendigo last Saturday morning for 5 winners a second, and $1.20 favourite got beat. It's not a bad morning. It's a pretty big achievement, and so we race again on Saturday morning as well.
7 runners, 5 winners.
7 runners, 5 winners a second,
price?
And the shortest price one never a hole. But it's a big effort at 5 winners anyway. Like it's a massive effort.
I was half listening. I was doing a bit of form before. I was half listening. Someone in Queensland today, greyhound trainer as well, trains 4 dogs, took 3 to the races, and they all 3 won. That's a good effort, isn't it?
Bloody good effort.
It's a great sport. I mean, I think I really love the sport, and I think most of us do. And I think it's got a lot of pluses, that's for sure. So hopefully going forward. I'm going to throw to Daniel's ending. We'll be back next week, hopefully from 6:30. Don't know where we'll be, don't know what we'll call it. But we'll try and promote something in a different light. Hopefully people have enjoyed the show. If you can come up with a name, come up with a name. If you're happy with the racing show with no name, well, I'll run with it. You don't have to encourage me too much. So, hopefully we'll see everyone next week. Listen to Daniel's interview, though. It's quite enthralling. And, he's done his trials. He'll be sitting at home now, I reckon, very nervous. He might even be watching himself live as he's driving home. Who knows? But, Hales, I'll see you next week. And hopefully we'll see everyone else next week as well. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
I've got to go do this. Daniel Hibbard now joins me. The racing show with no name, Daniel. It's going to stick, I think. It's I put the racing part in there just so people know what it's about, mate. But I think it's going to stick at the minute.
It sounds good. That'll work. People will remember that.
Well, I think so. And it's meant to be a bit of fun. We didn't have a lot of fun last week, but we still got a bit of good feedback and the like, so it wasn't too bad. We had a little bit of fun on Friday night just after as well at Shep Trots. It's good being able to get to the Trots. A pity for some of the people, isn't it?
It is, and it was great to be here on Friday night. Good racing. It's very, very quiet, very weird when you're sort of sitting up. When we were sitting up on the deck there, and you've got all the trainers and drivers and everything in the shed there, and it's a hive of activity, but there's no one else around. It's really a bit surreal. So, looking forward to the day when people can come back in and just sort of stand around the parade ring and watch the horses go around in the yard there, and then watch them out on the track. And I think we're going to see a lot of people come back to the trots and the races in general. I think people are going to want to get out and spend time away from the home because they've been locked up for so long.
Spring Carnival, mate. How do you spend it? Do you watch races, or do you try a bit like me, try and keep on top of everything else?
Well, Derby does. I had a bit of cricket on Saturday, so sort of missed most of the Derby day. Cup day is the first Cup day I haven't spent at the Trots at Cobram in 10 years, so it was a bit weird sitting on the couch watching it. I thought I went the early crow in the Cup. Not that I had backed the winner or anything like that, but I said turning to home that the lead was gone. And it wasn't. It clearly wasn't. It kept going. So it was good to watch the races there on Tuesday. But, you certainly miss getting to the track. And, hopefully we can get back to it really soon.
My sidekick, who's not here yet, we've had to pre-record this because as everyone can see, you're up in the grandstand at Shepparton Harness Race, ready to call the trials. We thought you might be finished in time because we didn't think there'd be a lot of horses, but you reckon you might be there till about sundown.
Yeah, it's crazy. I constantly say, when there's a race meeting, whether it's at Cobram or there's a race meeting in Echuca or somewhere that sort of clashes with the trials, I can sort of say to Suzanne at home, there won't be, there'll only be 3 or 4 trials. And you turn up and there's 8, and you turn up tonight and there's 50 horses going around at the trials, and you've got 9 races at Cobram tomorrow. So it just sort of goes to show what sort of harness racing area the Golden Valley is. It's depth. It's got horses everywhere, and people, might be just the one horse trainer, but there's a lot of them around, and it certainly keeps the sport going, and certainly keeps me busy on a Thursday night or a Tuesday night, whatever the case may be.
I was just alluding there to before that Troy actually did back the winner of the Cup. And I was there to watch him salute. Never said a word all the way at the straight. I tell you what, he didn't go the early crow at all. He waited till it hit the line and then he jumped straight up. I was like, you're joking.
He would have had to have been nervous going down the back along the back straight there when he was way out in front and thinking, he's mucked this up. But it was an amazing run and a great effort to really run out a strong 3,200 metres like that. And it's one of the few times I can remember where they really run it as a true staying test. And if you were on anything out the back of the field hoping that they'd run on, well, they just couldn't because they were just going too quick the whole way. He
did say some choice words halfway around that bend. I think something along the lines of, what are they doing with other adjectives going in there as well. Mate, I had to talk with you last week to promote you. I wanted to get you on here, yourself and Toby McKinnon. We're going to, as I said, keep rotating it. Today's show was actually going to be at Shepparton at one stage, but that got knocked on the noggin through a lot of other things. But how are the nerves tomorrow? First official TAB race calling duties at Cobram Harness Racing. How are the nerves, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. It's starting to become a bit real. You sort of, when I was driving in the car and you listen to the races on the radio, and you sort of think, well, in less than 24 hours, that's me calling the trot. So it is starting to hit home a bit. I think I'm a bit lucky. The first race on the card, there's the 2-year-old paces, 8 in it, and 7 of them I know from calling them regularly here at the trial. So that certainly helps. And most of the horses for the whole of the day, I sort of know most of them. So it's not like I'll be sort of flying blind with not knowing a lot of the horses and a lot of the form. So that's pretty handy to sort of have that bit of knowledge. And it should be a good day. 9 races, and it'll be a long day, and I reckon I'll be stuffed by the end of it.
Anyone that was listening to Trots Vision on Friday knows I can get my tongue around a word or two the wrong way. if it's to be, it's up to me. You're saying you've got it easy because you know most of them. You've got that in your first race on the TAB, mate.
No, it's pretty, just a stock standard horse name, that one. Yeah, they throw in the good ones early. But no, lucky that I've been able to call it a couple of times here at the trials. So hopefully we get around it on tomorrow afternoon and get it out of the way early.
I actually thought it could win, but I've noticed by your tips, and I'll probably throw them up either while we're on air now or a little bit later on. You've gone against me there. You stuck fat with Boyo. You were pretty keen on him last week at Shep, and you're backing up again.
Yeah, not jumping off. I think that first up run was good. He certainly didn't get around the corners as well as he would have liked, and that sort of made it a bit hard to make any ground. But he made good ground in the straights, and as I say, most of those horses have sort of trialled against each other over the last month, 6 weeks, I suppose, and I think he's sort of one of the better ones. Certainly, David's horse is very good, and there's a fair bit of good form amongst them. They all seem to go pretty good, but I think this guy's got a bit of ability, and hopefully we get to see it tomorrow.
It's actually a really good card of racing. There's no small fields. I think there's 9 races. Is that right?
9 races. Yeah, there's I think there's the smallest fields. I think it's 8 in the first, and I think there's a couple of 9s, but. When you look at I had to have a look at the legs of the quaddie for some tips for tomorrow as well for RSN, and like the quaddie is very wide open, like it's really tough. There's some the even class horses. There's not much between a lot of them, and there's you'd be pretty foolish if you thought you could nail 2 legs of the quaddie, 1 out, because it's quite even racing, and it will come down to a fair bit of luck, I think.
Some good races coming up too, like Bendigo tomorrow night. I'll be doing Trots Vision with Kirsten Graham. Will be there. She actually won't be there for the first. So if there's any ones I can't get my tongue around, look out, because I'll be on my own. I could be still tripping over my tongue on a week later, but she's going to be on track with me, Kirsten Graham will. But the Breeders' Crowns for the 3-year-olds and some ripping heats. It was an interesting little runner. Can you give us any trial form on Beautiful Woman? I noticed Amanda Turnbull's now the trainer of that, and Speak No Evil's gone okay since leaving the Premier stable and going there. So I was just curious as to any trial form.
Yes, well, Speak No Evil's had 2 trial runs before it won the second leg of the Triple Crown, and it galloped at its first trial. It went terrible. Came out the second trial and went a lot better. Got a pretty cosy trip, 1-1, and just sort of tipped out and sprinted to the line, but really did it nicely. Beautiful Woman won a trial narrowly last week and did everything right. They went pretty good time. So Amanda's stable's absolutely flying. Like, there's some really nice stock in that team, and certainly wouldn't surprise to see it go well tomorrow night. It's some great heats. If you've got you think you've got a nice one, and you go to the Breeders' Crown, and you soon realise that there might be about 4 or 5 that are a fair bit better than you. So it's that sort of series. So it's going to be a ripping contest for the heats, and as we build to the semi-finals and the finals.
She might have won a race last Friday night. Someone might have tipped it on top as one of their best bets for the night. Did she last week? I'm not sure.
Was that you?
Yeah. You reckon? Did you expect me to be shy there and hedge away from it?
I thought you were just going to say it, just blurt it out. And I did actually. I actually had a good weekend there last weekend. I was on the radio show here. Had a 2-leg multi and picked the 2 winners of the features at Maryborough. So the GB listeners are pretty happy. I think we got $7 or so for the multi last week, and we did have 3 legs of the quaddie going at Melton on Saturday night, which was surprising, but bombed out in the last league. So and we didn't do too bad a job on Friday night either, with a couple of nice collects there, or a couple of winners there early on. So we're not going too bad.
The old 3-legged quaddie. I tell you what, it'd pay enormous, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There was some really good dividends in that quaddie on Saturday night, and I think a few of the GB punters, if they'd taken it, would have been sitting there thinking, how good's this? But unfortunately, we bombed out in the last league.
Mate, I've got to give Macca a wrap. I won't hold you much longer because you've got to get ready for the trials, but I was at there yesterday doing some work for Nutrien live streaming, and the Shepherd and Harness Racing Club put on a great show, looked after Nutrien terrifically. Mark Barton was absolutely wrapped, and they do a great job there, so I think a big shout out. And the camera work, I can see the camera in the background. Hamish, and I think it was Scott, was helping me early on as well. They couldn't do any more to help me as well to be able to bring the live footage. They're a great club, aren't they?
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and Hayden, the cameraman, he's
Hayden,
what we do with what we do here on the trials of it, each week, the quality is just fantastic. And as for McEvoy, like he just doesn't stop, and he had to have 2 weeks off. Had to go into quarantine for COVID, and I think it just about destroyed him. He was, he went insane. I think he was telling me someone was bringing in groceries for, from the supermarket. He's opening up the bags and he's looking at the stuff and he's thinking, "What's all this stuff?" He said, "Just give me some steak and eggs and that'll do me." And he's got cracker biscuits in there that he's never going to eat. So he struggled along there for a couple of weeks, but it's good to have him back. And the club here wouldn't know itself if he wasn't here.
What about one of the questions yesterday? What did you watch? He said Sky Channel and Sky Channel. That was it. He said he watched trots, dogs, races. That was it for 2 weeks.
He would know all the form of every horse, dog, and around the countryside after sitting there for 2 weeks.
Absolutely. I'll let you go, mate. What's your highlight for the weekend before I let you go? What's your? I've got your tips, but what are you really looking forward to apart from the first race at Cobram? I'm tipping you chomping a bit for that one to be.
Yeah, looking forward to that tomorrow. But it's a good weekend. I'm particularly looking forward to the racing at Bendigo tomorrow night with some of those Breeders' Crown heats. In one of my selections there, I'm keen to see how Honolulu Albay goes after sort of a mediocre run here last week. Gets a better draw, and it's a nice heat, but it's at a decent price. And also keen to watch Sir Letic as well on Saturday night. I think he's a huge chance given the barrier draw. The really smart ones are drawn out the back, and I think he's going pretty well. So they're probably the two that I'm looking forward to watch. And it's going to be a big day tomorrow, and hopefully just have a quieter weekend just to relax after a big Friday.
Daniel Hibbard, mate, thank you very much for joining the racing show with no name. We may have a name. Someone might come up with a good name for us, mate. But thank you very much for joining. We're going to get you on live. It is going to work.
It'll work. It'll work.
If we end up rambling for too long, you might come on live. We might cut all this and not even worry about it, mate. But we'll see. We'll see how we go. We'll get you on. But thank you very much for your time, mate.
No worries, mate.